Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Project Oarai. Now, I'm sorry it's not the back of Chinatown, which I said we would be doing in this week's episode. I kind of have gone completely off the tracks, to be honest, with what I was doing this week. I tried to fill out the back of Chinatown, trying multiple ideas, multiple layouts, and I just didn't like any of them. So I figured that I'll come back to it. I'll just fill out somewhere else of the map, you know, let my brain have a little bit of a rest of trying different ideas. And I ended up making my way down to where we are currently, just to the left of where we built the luxury apartments a very long time ago. And I figured I'll just put my recorder on for this while I just kind of tinker with things, which is kind of why it's, you know, there's a lot of camera movement. And, you know, we're just kind of like filling out as like randomly, if you will. Because I wasn't too sure if I was going to make actually an episode out of this, because I'd built this so long ago. I already had like all the buildings down, and it was way back before we even kind of did much with the city center. So I figured that I'd just create this off camera and it'd give me a good guideline for like buildings putting together and so on. And it did, it gave me a good indication of like different stuff to do. And then I never ended up detailing it or filling it out. So, you know, that's what we're doing now. And I actually ended up spending 2 days on this area. And then by the time that it kind of clicked in my head, I was like, oh no, I don't actually have like a proper episode for this week. So what I've done instead is I filled out the cargo area as well, so there'd be a little bit more to the episode, rather than just this area that was already kind of put together but not detailed. As well as I threw in the school, and I threw in like kind of a public park area a little bit later on in the episode with some tennis courts, which I thought kind of looked pretty nice. And there's like a little custom football pitch, not like mega custom, but I kind of tried out some different ideas with like decals and stuff, which kind of turned out pretty nice. And I figured that that's what this week's episode would be until I can kind of figure out what I'm going to do with the back of Chinatown. What I might do is do Osaka Castle for next week. And maybe add in at the end of the episode, or make it a longer episode and add in the back of the Chinatown. I'm not too sure, because I'm still not 100% sure on the layout for the Chinatown. Sorry, at the back of the Chinatown, that big space that we've got. And I have got one idea that I've been tinkering with, and it's to build like a private school there. So a lot of the area would be a lot of trees, a lot of the open area would be taken up by the grounds of the private school. And it would kind of be like old school looking buildings to make up this private school. It wouldn't look like any of the other schools that I've placed down. But I'm not too sure yet. I've still got to test that, because I kind of felt a little bit unmotivated to build that area after trying out so many different layouts and not really liking any of them. And before I start rambling about other stuff, I do want to jump on it really quick. I do want to get your guys' feedback on just an idea that I've had. And the thing is, with filling out the city, I've also been filling out some other chunks of the map that you can't really see yet. I've kind of been testing them, because obviously the city's very big and there's going to be kind of filler areas. And I don't want them to be like super filler areas. I want them to still feel like they have a purpose. You know, I've always said I want there to be like commercial where it would make sense to have commercial, residential, and industrial and all that type of stuff. I've kind of wanted to make sense, as well as like unique buildings. I've been really looking at like some unique buildings to kind of separate like where offices would be and all that type of stuff. And the more I was actually filling out these areas, and okay, I could fill them out pretty quick, and I'll be honest, they looked okay, they looked pretty decent, but they kind of just felt soulless, if that makes sense. If you can kind of understand that, it's kind of difficult for me to put into words, but the areas felt like there was just no purpose to them. There was no life, even though there was people walking around and all that type of stuff. They just felt like they had no soul to them. So in an attempt to kind of bring a little bit of life to some of the areas of the city that are going to have like bits of filler near them, I have decided to revamp the motorways in the way that they interact with the city, in the way of, I want them to be more incorporated into the city. So like more roads that are going to be connected off of the intersections that come into the city. I'm going to work on adding in some rivers that come into the city as well. As you'll see from my YouTube community page, I've already kind of tested out some ideas of separating one of the docks with a big river canal going through it. And I'm thinking of doing the same with maybe where some motorways might attach themselves to and come in, because I see like around Tokyo and stuff like that, that's quite common for the to be like a little water duct, and then the highway would connect to the roads at the side of it and stuff like that. So I think that'd be kind of cool to add that into the city as well. As well as, I didn't realize, but we don't have any cargo lines coming into the city. And that was a big problem that I'm glad I've caught now before I've gone any further, because we currently don't have any way of getting any cargo lines to the docks. And I have already worked out a way around this now. As you'll have seen from the YouTube community page, I've shown some pictures of like the water that I've changed and some of the railway tracks. I've not shown too much of the railway tracks because I actually ended up changing quite a bit in the area that we built in this episode. So the cargo hub that you're gonna see, it is going to be getting shortened. It won't be shortened in this episode because I've already put all this together, and this is something that I did after when I was kind of looking at the rest of the city. But we shorten it a little bit. You'll notice that in this video that at the end of it, it goes over the road over to where Osaka Castle is, and I ended up just basically chopping it off at that road. And there's going to be no tracks that go beyond that point. And what you might have noticed if you looked at the community page is I've got a railway track that actually goes underground that's connected there. And I'm going to plan on having that wrap round. And it's going to come up that then is going to go to the docks. And that is going to be a track that only has cargo trains on it. So all the other tracks will be, you know, they will have the transport on for the Sims, but this track will only have cargo on it. So that is my plan, to have a dedicated cargo track that goes in and out of the city and also through it. I also think it'd look pretty cool. And it will also add a little bit of, you know, life to the city, I think, because I don't know, I feel like some of the areas when I've been trying them in my head and trying them actually in game, they've just kind of felt a little bit devoid of life and soulless, like I said. So I'm hoping this makes things a lot better, because like what I said, I've not built cities before. This is my first time properly building one. Obviously I've built cities before, sorry, but they've kind of been like thrown together in a matter of hours, and that's kind of it, and they've never looked good. Whereas this is my proper attempt to trying to put one together with the skills that I have at the moment. And I'm obviously learning a lot while I'm doing it. And cities are very difficult, especially with the amount of detail that I'm wanting to put in and all that type of stuff. But yeah, these changes are just my attempt at trying to add a little bit of life to the city. And like what I said, I want to get your guys' feedback, because I've been making these changes in the background, and I am not sure if anyone would be interested in seeing these changes. Obviously, it wouldn't be a main episode change, so it wouldn't take over Saturday's episode. I would maybe make this video like a Wednesday episode, so it'll be like a midweek episode where in the episode you just see me changing the highways and the railway tracks and adding in some rivers into the city. I basically just want to know if anyone is interested in watching that. If so, if enough people are kind of interested in it, then I'll make a midweek episode for it or something, and see kind of how that goes, because obviously we're only kind of we're majorly revamping the railway tracks and the highway and adding in some rivers into the city. So these are quite some big changes. So if you are interested in seeing them, or you're not really too bothered and you'd rather just see the episodes as normal or whatever, just let me know in the comments below. I'd be interested to see the feedback to see if you're interested or not. Okay, so you might have noticed that this episode is actually quite a long one, and I did say that we were going to be doing the episodes a little bit longer now, just because we can put more in them. I know this episode's been a little bit more all over the place, because it was kind of like a thrown together episode because of like what I said earlier. But at least at the beginning, we've got the McDonald's that we were detailing that was actually kind of making me hungry while I was doing it. And then we had a supermarket next to it, as well as we had a warehouse to the left as well as a couple of just houses that we're just kind of detailing around as well. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be detailing kind of near a post office and an office block. And then after we've done that, we're actually going to be detailing where there was a school, which I was actually going to get rid of this school because it was a small space to kind of fit in what I had in my head, what I wanted there. But in the end, it kind of went together okay. There's a few things I don't like about it, but it looks good overall. And then once we're done with that, we're just going to detail just a crossover from the road, from the train, not the train station, from the school, sorry. Just create a nice little open space area. And then once we're done with that, we're actually going to be building the cargo dock area, which was kind of already put together a very long time ago as well. But I kind of just built the bare bones of it and kind of called it a day because I wasn't sure what I was going to do, if I was going to keep it or not. But we are keeping it, and we do detail it a little bit in today's episode. Even though I've gone ahead and changed a little bit of it off camera anyways, which you will see probably in next week's episode or something. But for the most part of it, it looks the exact same, so that's all good. And then once we're done with the cargo area, we're actually the cargo area, to be honest, I didn't want to overcomplicate. So I've tried, to kind of keep it very basic, but still there with the detail. I didn't want to go over the top with putting lines everywhere and certain points. I wanted this to just be a cargo area where it's just taken off, put onto wagons and put onto the trains, put onto the trucks, and that's it. Doesn't need to be super complicated, super detailed. I think as it is, it looks very nice. And then once we're done with that, we are actually going to be building the last piece of this episode, sorry, and that is going to be this nice little park with a couple of tennis courts, maybe like a little sports center place just at the back of it, and it's going to have a nice little football pitch that's just kind of open for anyone to use. And I just think it kind of looked nice. It kind of split up the area a little bit, which is nice. And that is going to be the whole episode. So I hope you enjoy this kind of last minute put together episode. I do hope you enjoy. And like what I said, let me know in the comments about if you would like to see them episodes where I tinker with the city. And like always, I'll see you all in the next one.